I think it's likely that President Putin is gonna do some kind of asymmetric coup d'etat on Ukraine, moving in, overthrowing the government, putting a pro-Russia government there, making them sign the treaties that they want to sign, so that to ensure that Ukraine never joins NATO. And he will probably want to use as little military force as possible to accomplish this. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Using the power of alchemy and the power of meditation to understand geopolitics and the current events of the world. We are living in a time of Akhirul Zaman, or the end times. We are seeing some increased escalation between Russia and Ukraine. Russia has moved some 127,000 troops to the border of Ukraine, surrounding the border of Ukraine. They have moved Iskander ballistic missiles that you could theoretically put as thermonuclear warhead in to the border of Ukraine, sources say. Now, trying to put myself into the shoes of President Vladimir Putin, what's likely that he's going to do next? The whole world is waiting for him. Russia negotiated with NATO, didn't work, they didn't get what they wanted. Russia said no more expansion to the east. Ukraine should never join NATO, Sweden, Finland should never join NATO, etc. NATO said every country is free, we don't change core principles. Negotiations failed. Russia mobilizes more. Now the United States is in Russia, and President Biden just recently today or yesterday said that he thinks it's highly likely that there's going to be war. So the negotiation didn't go so well. We'll see tomorrow when United States talks with Russian Minister Sergei Lavrov. Anyway, so what are Putin's options? Since everyone is waiting for President Vladimir Putin, I can see, and my analysis is, well, the first one is to do nothing, is to go back, remove his troops from the border. What would he gain if he would do that? He would gain no casualties, continued decent relations with Europe, not that they were good today. What does he lose? Well, Putin is going to lose his face to his people, and the government is going to look weak to the Russian people, and NATO is going to look strong, and that's going to reduce Russians' leverage in geopolitics, and it's going to make Russia look like someone who just intimidates people with army but never does something about it. I don't think Russia is going to go for the option of no action. I think we can almost certainly rule out the potential world where Russia does nothing and just moves back. I don't think that's going to happen. So what then is Russia going to do? Are they going to do some kind of small attack on a small region of Ukraine? That can be very costly, that can be very expensive, and lead to a lot of casualties. And it's possible, that's a possible future world, but if they would do some kind of small attack where Russia and Ukraine is currently fighting and sort of taking that region, they still don't accomplish what they told NATO that they want to accomplish, which is a halt to NATO expansion. So Russia doesn't accomplish that by just taking small pieces here and there of Ukraine. So how does Russia accomplish a halt in NATO expansion? How does Russia accomplish what they wanted, which is that Ukraine never joins NATO? They have to go to Kiev, the capital, and do something related to the government that doesn't want to sort of sign a treaty or whatever. So that's what I think Russia's likely move is, to somehow go into Kiev, either militarily or asymmetrically, like there are some reports from The Guardian saying that US officials are claiming that Russian intelligence is now recruiting former Ukrainian sort of government officials to try to make them sort of support a military action to throw over the government in Kiev. So there is some indication to that. There was also an interview. It was either with Putin's spokesperson Dmitry, or it was with Sergei Lavrov, I don't remember who. But in the interview it was kind of like we want Ukraine to sign this treaty, and if they don't, they will have the opportunity to do so. Something like this was said, and that gave me an indication of, oh, a little bit like, you either sign or we're going to make you sign, kind of like this. That's just the indication that I got intuitively, and that opened up the possibility for me that maybe they are intending to make a move on the government of Ukraine. So and theoretically, so if they would somehow asymmetrically or militarily, or a combination of asymmetric and military action to throw over the government, they could put theoretically then a pro-Russian government that signs whatever Russia wants them to sign, a treaty to never join NATO, trade agreements with Russia, or whatever they want. That way, Russia could gain an enormous amount of leverage in world politics, because then they are basically saying that we gave you a chance to sign a treaty yourselves. You didn't take it, now you have no choice. So they can say that we gave you the opportunity by discussing with NATO, but NATO didn't want to listen, so we had to do what we did. So they can take this stance. They can also say that, that they show to Sweden and Finland that you guys are thinking about joining NATO. Well, look what happened to Ukraine. We told them not to join. They were moving towards NATO. We went in, withdrew the government, made them sign the treaty, so they didn't join. You guys still want to join NATO? And Russia also sent 6 warships to the Baltic Sea, kind of putting a sort of pressure that if you want to join NATO, we're going to make you not do it, kind of. So that would put Russia in a very strong position geopolitically, and it would kind of accomplish the mission that Russia has, which is stop NATO's expansion. So I see that the only likely future world, even if there are different possible worlds, if we talk about modal metaphysics, that can happen, and each one of them have a certain amount of probability and depends on the actions that are done today, cause and effect. The most likely is that Russia is somehow going to move on the government in Kiev, either asymmetrically or militarily, or sort of conventional military, or a combination of the two. And also, if they could accomplish a quick sort of Panama or coup d'etat or whatever you want to call it, they could do so with minimal casualties to Ukraine, because then basically the people just get another government that is pro-Russia, and you have minimal lives lost, and Russia accomplishes its mission. So that is what I would see right now is the most likely next move of Vladimir Putin. If they don't do that, I think they are going to do some kind of asymmetric warfare, which has already started, because Russia sent a spy attack hacking 70 Ukrainian government sites. They never confirmed it, but United States intelligence and Ukrainian intelligence says it was Russia. So the asymmetric warfare has already started. The disinformation, confusion, divide and conquer, hacking, etc., it has already started. And you could also analyze that asymmetric attack on the Ukrainian government's web pages to see an indication that is where Russia's interest is to the government of Kiev. Hopefully this video was interesting. Peace.